Hi everyone, Alexa here from the blog theduvallhomestead.com. Today I'm going to bring you a review of the Mill Food Recycler. This is a product that allows you to recycle your food into food grounds. I'm sure you have heard about it if you are looking on the market for a way to sustainably manage your own food waste. I'm going to dive into the Mill, I'm going to talk about what it is and how it works for our family of 5, and then I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons in my opinion, and then give you my recommendation at the end. If you are looking for a way to recycle your food, you have probably heard of Mill. Mill is a food recycler. It takes your raw food and turns it into food grounds. It heats it up, it dries it out, and turns it into a coffee grounds type texture that can then be used in your compost bin or to feed chickens. Mill does not turn your food into compost, but it does turn it into a really rich, almost like a fertilizer that can then be used and put into compost. Many people are choosing to put something like the Mill in their house these days because of food waste. If you are not composting in your own yard with a compost pile, then most likely you are just throwing your food out. This food accumulates in our world at such a rapid rate, and I didn't actually realize this until we got our Mill. Okay, so we're gonna go over what the Mill is all about, how it works for our family of 5. I'm gonna talk about the pros and the cons, and then I'm gonna talk about my personal opinion and recommendation. Mill gifted me this food mill so that I could give my honest opinion, so all opinions are my own. So why would you have this in your house? Well, because every time you are cooking, you have to do something with the leftover food. Maybe it's food that you haven't eaten before, or it's tops of carrots, or it is bones from chicken, eggshells, banana peels, avocado skins, avocado pits. Basically anything you can think of with the exception of a few items can go into the food mill. Now, how would this look for a family? For us, we are a family of 5, and I cook 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we have a lot of food flying through the house. Our kitchen is pretty much open all day. We don't close it until the end of the night. So things are being chopped and prepared and eaten, like apples and oranges and just a lot of food all day that has peels and skins, onion, garlic, and then of course meat and bones. So usually what I do is if the food is enough for another meal and if it's in good shape and it's easily reheatable, I will keep it in the fridge. And if it's a bone like chicken, if I do a whole chicken, I will use those bones to make bone broth later. But once I use the bones to make bone broth, I actually just throw them out. We have a small homestead and we used to compost in our backyard, but we stopped doing it because it does require some moving and stirring and some work. We did not find that that was actually helpful for us. We found that it was more work than what it was actually producing for us. For me, I more just enjoyed the idea of composting. I just wanted to be able to do it myself. When I learned about Mill is they do a lot of that work for you. So they are making the food into something that is shelf stable. So after your food goes in the mill and it goes through the dry and grind cycle, it is a shelf stable product at that point that doesn't smell, isn't gonna rot or anything like that. So you can actually store all of those grounds for your spring or summer garden, which is what we are doing currently. I'm filming this video in November, but we started using the Mill several months ago. And at that time it was late summertime and I was able to use the food grounds in our soil. So you do have to mix the grounds with your soil. You think of them like a really rich fertilizer. They are not compost. So you cannot just use those food grounds as you would use normal compost, but they mix with compost, if that makes sense. Okay, so getting to some of the stats. So to summarize how we use this product is every single time I cook, I have a bowl. You can see my bowl right here from this morning. I made breakfast and I made banana pancakes. So I've got eggshells, bananas, I've got avocados, ends of, crust from bread. So I fill up 1 or 2 of those bowls a day, and then I just pour the bowl into the mill. The food sits in the mill, which is closed all day, and then every single night it runs its dry and grind cycle, and then the next day it is compressed down into the grounds. When I do bone broth, if I have a whole chicken with all the bones, after all of that stuff is done, I put the entire chicken with the bones in there. So if you are not aware of what can be put in the mill, let me just go over that really quick. It's everything. Just think about everything. Basically everything except for a few items like beef bones cannot be put, lamb bones, pork bones. So I think only chicken and fish bones. And then really fibrous vegetables like a whole celery stalk, you want to chop that up first. Can't do any kind of shells like oyster shells or anything like that. There are a few more items, but those are the main ones, and there's nothing else I have encountered. The only thing that I've ever had to not put in there intentionally was beef bones. Okay, so to talk about the specs of this product, the mill is typically $999 to purchase. However, currently as I'm filming this video, it's November and they are running their Black Friday sale, and you can save up to $200 on the Mill. So this is the biggest sale of the year. I have not seen this go on sale until just now. So if you happen to be watching this during the sale, I suggest taking advantage of that offer. You can also rent the Mill for $35 per month with a buyout option. It is a 12-month commitment, so it is $420 for the year. It's always covered under warranty. They provide charcoal filters when you need them, and this option is only available in white. And there is an option for a buyout. I haven't explored this very much, but basically if you rent it for long enough, you can eventually buy it. So if you cook a lot like we do, you're gonna have a lot of food grounds. And unless you have a lot of property and farming and you're able to, or a large chicken flock that you can really use those grounds up for consistently, you're probably gonna have too many food grounds. So in our case, we use the food grounds in our garden, but we don't need as much as we actually end up having. So Mill provides boxes and bags for you to put the grounds in the bag, mail it in the box, and your local delivery will pick up the box from your porch and take it back to the Mill, and then Mill will redistribute that to local farms who can use it. This is one of the nicest things about the Mill, is that they do this because then you're not feeling like you're wasting anything, and you're kind of just saying, I'm done with this, and you redistribute it. And you don't have the pressure of having to use it in your garden or your homestead right away. Now you can also feed your grounds to chickens. However, you do want to make sure you're aware of what you're putting in the grounds. There are some foods that might be toxic to chickens, like avocado pits, maybe onion skins. So if you do plan on feeding it to your flock, you want to be aware of what you're putting in it first. But chickens do eat most everything else, so it's actually a perfect supplement to their regular diet. And the Mill website does have a lot of information about how you can use these for your chickens and how to mix it with their regular food. A couple other things you may not know, the Mill is also linked to your phone on an app. So when you first get the Mill, there's an app that shows you step-by-step how to install it. It's very user-friendly, very easy to install. And then it tells you when it's time to empty your bin. And then also for the pickup option, if you are sending your grounds back to the Mill, you can just literally tap schedule pickup, and it's super fast and easy. You put it on your doorstep and it will be gone the next day. There is also a 90-day return window. So if you do not like the Mill, once you have it, you have 90 days to try it and you can return it. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about my pros and cons. So I'm looking at my list on my phone here. My first pro is that it takes almost everything. I mentioned this before. It's so easy. I don't have to pick through my food. It takes basically everything. The only exception that I make in my house is beef bones and pork bones, or lamb if we happen to have those, but it's just those bones that I would take out of my broth mixture and I wouldn't put it in there, but everything else is so easy to put in. My second pro, this might be my biggest pro. These are not in order of most important to least important, but this might be my biggest one. It cuts down on trash. I had no idea how much trash we were using when we were throwing our leftover food out. And it cuts down on guilt, because I hated throwing leftovers away. We are a very small homestead here and we do everything from scratch, and I hated, absolutely hated, wasting any amount of food, even if it was just a little bit. So we actually save a lot of food in our freezer. We do as much saving as we can, but there's just sometimes when food cannot be saved or it's not going to reheat well. And so being able to recycle it is an amazing feeling. And our trash is a lot lower. That's one of the first things my husband said is, wow, our trash is not even full. What happened? And I said, well, the Mill happened. My next pro is the feeling that you're reducing waste. So I kind of touch on this, but if you think about the global perspective of landfills and what that's doing to our world, and just the fact that so much food is in the landfills, it's hard to imagine a solution for that, but this is one solution. I know that not everyone can have this in their house, but I'm not trying to save the world here. I know that you and I both probably just want to do our part on a daily basis, and so this is just one thing that is easy for us to do every single day that can help reduce that. Okay, my next pro, of course, is nutrients for your garden. Even compost from the store is expensive. Everything you buy, fertilizer, when you are looking at a homestead or a garden, it sometimes is daunting because you're trying to save money by planting seeds and growing your own food, but to prepare the garden sometimes costs money because you may not have access to really great soil. So if you just have a small homestead or you just need some fertilized soil, this is a good way to get those nutrients back in your garden. So you're essentially putting the food you're eating now, you're putting it back into the food system, back into your garden. And so that's a really nice thing. My next pro is that the one we got is white and it's not ugly. So it works with our kitchen aesthetic just fine. It does come in black and stainless steel as well. Okay, next is that it runs at nighttime and is quiet. So like I said, we put the food in all day, and then in the evenings when we are sleeping, it's running, and it sounds almost like a low hum, like a dishwasher. So it's not loud. It's not really noticed at this point. Next pro is that it is not smelly. So it's a way to keep your food and it does not smell. So every day after you run the cycle, you open it back up, there's no smell. Actually, that's not entirely true. There is a smell, but it doesn't smell bad. It's kind of a foodie smell, but there's definitely no, it's not like you would smell the dinner that you ate the night before, if that makes sense. It smells more like, it kind of smells like compost, something along those lines. And my last pro is that shipping it back is very convenient. I've talked about this a little bit before, but just boxing it up, putting it on the porch, and then someone will pick it up is so convenient. You don't have to take it to a post office. It's just so easy to leave on your doorstep and it's gone from there. Okay, my cons. My cons is that I wish it was larger for our family. So we cook a lot. I mean, we don't have a huge family. We have a family of 5, but we fill it up really fast. So there are 2 things that need to be filled up. One is the bin on the daily basis with your whole food. So we fill that bin up every single day because we have enough food scraps every day to fill that bin up every day. But then at nighttime, it compresses all the food into the grounds. And so then you keep rerunning it until the grounds reach a certain level, then you have to empty it. So that level for us takes about a week. And I think the website says it takes about 30 days. So for us, it is nowhere near 30 days. It's like a week and a half. And that of course depends on how much you're cooking, but that is how much we are filling it up. So I do wish it was larger. However, my next con is that it is very large and it is very heavy and it is hard to move. So while I wish it was larger, I kind of don't because I don't know where we would put it. So once you get the mill, make sure you are confident in where you want to put it because it's really heavy to move and it is really big. So it is, you know, has to live somewhere. So if you have a really small space, you might want to consider that. And lastly, my last con is it is expensive. I wonder if the price of $400 and whatever it was per year to rent it, I wonder how quickly that would pay off when it comes to your composting your garden, feeding your farm animals, etc. It depends on how you're going to use it. If you have chickens and you have an extensive garden and a homestead, that can really save a lot of money on fertilizer and chicken feed, etc. But now the price of trash is pretty expensive, and so you are saving monthly on your trash bill. Because I don't know about you, but we fill up our trash with enough things from our own home that sometimes we have to go to the dump, and that costs I think $35 every time you go to the dump. And so if we can use our actual pickup trash more often, then we won't be having to go to the dump. Because our trash currently, we used to fill it up and overflow it every single week, and now it's like half full. Okay, lastly, my recommendation. I can't not recommend this product, and here is why. When I see how much food goes into that mill and comes out as food grounds, and how that can be used in our soil, which is already depleted by the way, and as chicken food, there is no way that that's not a brilliant idea. So if you are kind of crunchy like I am, or a homesteader, or you're interested in helping the environment, which I think most people are, and you just don't feel like you have the means to do it. Like for example, I remember when I was a kid, my mom would compost in the kitchen. She had like those little bins you put the food in, and it would always attract flies, and it was so hard to do it that people just didn't do it anymore. So this is just the easiest way possible. If you are unsure about the price, then you can always try it out for that year, rent it on the month-to-month basis, and you will not regret it, I guarantee, because you will save money on your trash, you will save money on chicken food if you have chickens, and you will save money on fertilizer because you are able to feed your existing soil and compost. And of course, there is that return window, so if you really don't like it right away, you can return it. If only there was a way for this to be in every household, I would be interested to see what the actual impact of that would be. But for now, I hope that more people and more companies come out with these kind of things, because this is an amazing product for you as someone who cooks and for the entire world. Don't forget, like I said, right now there is a really big sale going on for Black Friday for the mill. You can save up to $200, which is the biggest sale that I have seen, and I believe it's the biggest of the year. Now, if that sale has ended by the time you saw this video, I will leave a discount link in the description below that you can click on and receive a discount for being a viewer of the Duvall Homestead. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will try to help you out. If you're brand new to my page, please hit that subscribe button. Every week I post videos on farm-to-table recipes and homemade natural living, and I would love to have you join me. Thanks so much for stopping by the Duvall Homestead.